Welcome back to Deciphering Zodiac, a Chronicle of Terror, brought to you by History and Crime. In this 5th episode, titled The Blue Rock Springs Attack, disclaimer, the following content contains graphic descriptions of violence, murder, and other criminal activities. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of myself, Tammy D, the creator, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organisation, employer, or company. The information presented in this podcast is based on historical sources and research, but it is not intended to be a definitive account of the events or the people involved. As the creator of this podcast, I do not endorse or condone any of the actions or behaviours depicted in the true stories. The purpose of this podcast is to educate and entertain, not to glorify or sensationalise crime. Let us delve deeper into the chilling narrative of the Zodiac Killer, focusing on the second confirmed attack that took place at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, California. On the night of July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were enjoying what should have been a peaceful evening in the park. Their tranquility was shattered when an unknown man approached their car and opened fire. The suddenness and brutality of the attack were a horrifying testament to the ruthlessness of their assailant. Tragically, Darlene Ferrin did not survive the attack. Michael Mageau, despite being seriously injured, managed to survive, becoming a crucial witness in the unfolding saga of the Zodiac Killer. But who were Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, and what brought them to Blue Rock Springs Park that night? Darlene Ferrin was a 22-year-old waitress at Terry's restaurant, where she was a popular and friendly employee. She was married to Dean Ferrin, a mechanic, but their relationship was troubled by Darlene's affairs and Dean's jealousy. She had a young daughter from a previous marriage and was known to be a loving and devoted mother. She enjoyed music, dancing, and socializing, and had a vibrant and outgoing personality. Michael Mageau was a 19-year-old student at Vallejo Junior College, where he was studying to become a mechanic. He was a friend of Darlene's younger sister, Pam, and had a crush on Darlene. He was shy, quiet, and gentle, and had a keen interest in cars and motorcycles. He was also a devout Catholic and attended church regularly. Darlene and Michael had met through Pam and had developed a friendship. They had gone out a few times before, but their relationship was platonic. On the night of July 4th, 1969, Darlene picked up Michael from his house around 9:30 p.m. and drove to Blue Rock Springs Park, a rural park that was about 4 miles from Vallejo. The park was a popular spot for young couples to park and enjoy some privacy, away from the prying eyes of parents and authorities. The park was surrounded by trees, hills, and a golf course. It was a quiet and peaceful setting, ideal for romance. However, little did they know that someone was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Someone who had a twisted and sinister agenda. Someone who would soon become known as the Zodiac Killer. But what clues or evidence did the killer leave behind at the scene, and how did they help or hinder the investigation? The killer left behind a sparse and confusing trail of clues and evidence at the scene, which only added to the mystery and complexity of the case. Some of the clues and evidence that were found were bullet casings from a 9mm Luger pistol, which matched the weapon used in the Lake Herman Road murders. This indicated that the same killer was responsible for both attacks, and that he had a preference for this type of gun. Tyre tracks from a possible second car, which suggested that the killer had followed or stalked the victims to the park, or that he had an accomplice or a lookout. This raised questions about the killer's modus operandi and his possible associates. Paint chips from a possible second car, which indicated that the killer had scraped his car against a fence or a gate while leaving the scene. This provided a possible clue to the killer's vehicle, which could have been a light-coloured or metallic car with some damage to the paintwork. Fingerprints from the car door and the phone booth, which could have belonged to the killer or to the victims. However, the fingerprints were of poor quality and could not be positively identified or matched to any suspects. This frustrated the investigators and the fingerprint experts, who hoped to find a definitive link to the killer. These are just some of the clues and evidence that were found at the scene, but none of them were conclusive or definitive. The killer had left behind a puzzling and elusive trail, and the clues that were found only served to deepen the mystery. The investigators faced a daunting task as they tried to piece together the puzzle and catch the killer. That concludes episode 5 of our series. In our next episode, we will discuss the chilling phone call to the police claiming responsibility for the attacks, adding another layer to this complex and horrifying narrative. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey through the chronicle of the Zodiac Killer. Until next time, stay safe, keep the lights on, and continue to join us as we navigate the dark corridors of history and crime. Remember, in the words of George Santayana, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.